walking down the streets I know. My friends reassure me it's gonna be alright. There's always a place for you to rest the night. Yes, I'm feeling better, and it's day to day. Yes, I'm feeling better, and I'm okay. If you'd asked me before, I would have told you a lie. All this confusion had control of my mind. Now I'm thinking clearer, more open inside. Little by little, I'm re-enjoying my life. But I'm feeling better, and it's day to day. 'Cause I'm feeling better, and I'm okay. For so long I wanted something to change. Some big step to push me in the right way. Took a little time for me to finally see. The change I needed started with me. Yes, I'm feeling better, and it's day to day. Yes, I'm feeling better, and I'm okay.
Cool. So welcome everyone. I hope you're all in good spirits in this sunny Sunday. Sorry you can't tell me how you are as I've put you all on mute, but you can let us know in the chat because Denise will be active in the chat today. Anything we can't respond to immediately, she'll take a little note so that we can get back to you after the event. Some of you may have just caught that song I was playing called Feeling Better. It was sent to me by my friend Vince, who recorded it on his phone during lockdown. And I asked if I could share it with you today because I think it's a beautiful intro and it relates to some of the topics I'll touch on. I think it takes you through a journey of feeling better, including friendship and kindness, vulnerability and openness, the journey being a day-by-day process, realizing that change starts within and that we all have it within us. And he ends asking if you're okay, and reassuring that we're okay because we're all in this together, which is why we're here today. So I think it's pretty cool that Vince was using music as a creative outlet during lockdown, and also as a way to keep connected and tell a positive story to his friends during that time. So thank you, Vince. I really appreciated receiving your songs, and so happy I could share it today. So hi everyone, I'm Kit, and for those of you who don't know me, alongside Denise, who's in the chat, we run a little community initiative called SunnySunday. Basically, we are a couple of girls who care a lot about the people around us, our community and the environment, and leaving it a better place for the now and for the future generations. We pick one topic per month and bring you an event with substantiated resources to help you learn, enlighten and do good with others collectively. So it's a community environment. So why are we here today? Winter wellness. I'm going to read off the slides for the next couple and then I'll get into the content. So we're here to encourage our community to prioritise their wellbeing, to bring you ideas and insight and resources to support wellbeing. We're here to help you build a winter wellness plan to work for you in uncertain times, and to show by example those in tough spots that there is light and help to be found out there. So why are we not here today? So Denise and I are not physical and mental health professionals. We've managed to get 8 contributors together who do know their stuff. So we're here to learn just as much as you are, and this is kind of what SunnySunday is about. We pick topics that interest us and we want to learn about too. We're not here to assume that winter, or anything at all for that matter, affects everyone the same way. And we're not here to take away your choices. Some of the stuff you listen to today will apply to you and some of it won't. So pick and choose what works for you. And we're definitely not here to expect that anyone is perfect. So these are the 6 areas that I've broken winter wellness down into today. I think there's a lot of crossover and interlinking, so it's all a bit mashed together. And I also want to add here that you are going to be shown quite a lot of tips and information, so maybe grab a pen and paper so you can build your winter wellness plan for the things that do resonate with you. We will also be releasing this video online, so if you miss anything, you can go back. Cool, so I'm going to start with nutrition. These are just a few general nutrition facts that I kept finding reoccurring as I looked into nutrition. So eat healthy variety, sticking to your 5+ a day for fruit and vegetables, that's really important. There's research to suggest that our digestive systems are not designed for cold foods. So warm and room temperature foods over the winter give our system a break from those cold drinks and salads we tend to eat over summer. And we hear this a lot, but healthy hydration is important. Water should be our main fluid. And I've also added here that herbal teas provide warmth and health benefits over those colder winter months. And we're going to go into vitamin D a bit more later, but vitamin D is actually really important for us, but hard to get through our diet. So I found that mushrooms, particularly portobello mushrooms, can top up your vitamin D levels. So that's something to consider if you like mushrooms over winter. So why to eat seasonally? So the concept of eating seasonally is pretty simple. It involves eating foods that are grown at the same time you eat them. But why is it so good for us? So it offers us financial well-being as it's easier and cheaper to access and source locally and organic. Sourcing locally, as Denise puts it, is putting money where your heart is, into your community. And making a trip to your local growers or farmers markets can add a healthy activity to your week and supports the small guys, and you get to know the locals too. Organic eating is good for too many reasons to cover today, but try where you can to source organically to reduce your chemical intake. Fruit and vegetables contain the greatest number of nutrients when they ripen naturally. And there's also studies conducted on supermarket produce that shows 4 days after harvest, many fruit and vegetables have lost up to 80% of their nutrient levels. So that really reiterates the importance of seasonal eating. Fresh seasonal vegetables provide essential vitamins for our health and natural immunity. I'm going to show you 2 examples of winter wonder foods in the following slides as examples. But just firstly, I wanted to mention that Denise is working on a winter recipe book to keep us warm and healthy in the winter months. So if you do have anything you want to contribute over the next few days, please send that through to us, our email and our social media. Cool, so if you don't know, now you know, our kiwi icon, the pavlova topper, the kiwi fruit, it's actually a wonder food containing 3 times more vitamin C than an orange, which meets our total daily vitamin C requirements. Vitamin C is essential for our health, but our bodies don't produce it naturally, so we have to have it in our diet or through supplements. Our little kiwi has as much potassium as a banana, so potassium is the 3rd most abundant mineral in our body. It functions as a positive electrolyte, helping your body regulate fluid and support our nervous systems. A potassium-rich diet is linked to many health benefits, including reduced blood pressure and stroke and kidney stone prevention. And because kiwi fruit are grown locally and bananas are generally imported, if you can replace some of those bananas with kiwi fruit, you're helping to save the planet and the local economy too. The antioxidants and vitamin E fight off pathogens that can cause disease and illness, including cancer and viruses, which I'm sure you can appreciate why we would want to build our immune system for in the current situation. Kiwi fruits are incredibly good for our gut health. They have a unique enzyme that breaks down food, and the gut is known as another mind in our body, so it's really important that we look after our guts. They are low GI, their fibre is unusually good, helping the uptake of sugars into the bloodstream steadily. And finally, they're a good source of folate. So this is an essential nutrient for our cellular growth and development. And a little tip for the pregnant or one-day pregnant ones, sufficiently high levels of folate are required during this time, so before and during pregnancy. Mamas to be, top up on those kiwi fruit to grow those healthy babies. And is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's garlic, our disease-fighting superhero. Research has shown that the entire onion family, but particularly garlic, has properties that protect against heart disease and cancer and fight against cold and flus. Garlic is high in nutrients and low in calories, and it can help reduce blood pressure, improve cholesterol, and purifies blood, along with many other health benefit claims that I won't delve into today. But it's not just what we eat, it's also how we eat. There is a lot of information around eating behaviour being linked to our health, weight, and relationship with food and nutrition. I have taken most of this information from a research document released by the Ministry of Health in New Zealand. I'm going to link this in our Winter Wellness resources page later today because it's a really cool information document. It's got a lot on child development and health, which is important for parents. As we know, those early years are crucial for learning and brain development and lead into growing healthy adults. But for today, I've just pulled a few of the more general information to suit the wider audience. So firstly, treat food as your friend. It really is the fuel for your body and your mind. So put time and love into it the way you do loved ones. Make mealtime screen-free. So watching TV while eating or watching a screen while eating is linked to stress, and it's also linked to overeating in children, adolescents, and adults. I really love this one. So make mealtime fun. So try not to worry about the spilt drinks or the food. Focus on the meal and each other. You could even set up topics you discuss at dinner, like your learnings for the day. I know Denise and her partner use dinner time as a chance to tell each other what they're grateful for the day, which is a great relationship tool as well. Stick to healthy portions and regularity. I don't want people going all crazy, measuring their meals out obsessively, but it's definitely worth putting in the research on what healthy portions and amounts of meals you should be eating based on your age and size and activity levels. Excessive over and under eating can have serious effects on our physical and mental health, and we really don't want that. So there's a few general tips here for the households raising children, but like I said, read the document if you're interested. It's recommended to eat together most days, talk together, and if you have a baby, put the high chair at the table. A baby will start learning about food and eating by watching you do it. Encourage variety and education around food by learning about and preparing food together. So you could tell a kid the old classic story of Popeye eating the spinach. His muscles grow stronger, his energy levels go up. And model healthy eating. This is really important. If you're constantly talking about your diet and putting bad body messages into a child's mind, they are looking and learning. So please take note of this and model a healthy relationship with food and nutrition. Finally, try avoid using those foods as rewards too often. I'm not saying never, but I also think that we can incorporate healthy food into fun and festive times. If you're encouraging your children to do something and the reward is food, even good food, but particularly bad food like lollies or McDonald's, every time, they're building an unhealthy reward system in their brains with food. So try praise and positive attention as an alternative where you can. Nurturing parenting is also linked to healthy relationships with food and nutrition without even bringing food into it. So like they say, quality time is the greatest gift and the most valuable gift you can give. So speaking of gifts, I'm going to segue into Fleur's incredible, generous gift to us. So this is Fleur. She has a wealth of knowledge in natural health. She is a qualified and experienced naturopath, and she also helps people with bodywork, healing, and connecting back into nature, which I'm going to touch on later. She has gifted us a winter wellness guide for harmony with nature and natural health, which is now live on our website. The next 3 slides cover her nutrition, wellness, and supplement guidance, but I quickly want to mention that she highlights winter as a time to come inward and cultivate energy internally to keep us warm and well, and that the kidney is our primary organ of focus throughout winter. So I'll start with her nutrition guidance. So she says, water is perfectly created for wellness in its natural state. Search for wild spring water, of course taking into consideration water quality, but it also helps you be more aware of what water is in your area and the quality of it. You can also buy pure spring water or buy a filter for your mains tap and mineralize water through concentrated mineral drops. So broths, they're full of minerals. They help to heal the gut and warm the body internally. Herbs and bitters help digestive function. Increasing those purifying foods, as I mentioned before, the kidney is a key organ to focus on during winter. And a big one, say no to sugar. Sugar dramatically affects the immune and neurological system, so that's your mind. It can spike low moods and inhabit the immune system. We need to be taking particular care of our immunity over winter, especially with those colds and flus. Which leads into avoiding mucus-forming foods. And she mentions the overconsumption of dairy product. And finally, listen to your body, observe your body and its reaction. It's actually going to tell you what foods make you feel good. Try and eat mindfully and intuitively. Tell yourself when you're full and what's good for you. Remember that your body is your friend. And here's a few ideas for energy cultivating for the winter months. So drop those excess emotions, it's wasted energy. Ask yourself, what is not flowing in your life? Am I holding any heavy emotions? What can I do to release and bring back the energy into my home? It might be a good time to find a coach or a body worker or a therapist to address any deeper wounds if that's something you're struggling with. Tend your lymphatics. She's listed a whole lot of things here, like saunas and dry brushing. The one that got me is those rebounders, which is those little mini trampolines. I used to see them around a lot when I was younger. But if you have one of those, it seems like a fun indoor exercise that also looks after your lymphatic system. And just check what other options work for you there too. The main way to cultivate more energy in the body is through breathwork. Our special guest, who is going to come on soon, Josh, is going to run us through this in depth today. And she also recommends stoking the fire with cold therapy. So this is scientifically proven to rewire the body into the true fight or flight mode, the primal response. You can do this by having a 3-minute cold shower daily, and her blog guides you through this. And finally, so Fleur is a well-known naturopath, so this supplement tips are a great resource to be gifted. She talks about light and vitamin D playing a huge role in our immunity, in our bone health, mental wellness and mood. The body makes the majority of its vitamin D on our skin via the sun, and as I mentioned earlier, it's really hard to get through your diet. So Fleur recommends wise interaction with the sun for vitamin D. Try and get at least 15 minutes a day of natural daylight on as much skin as appropriate. If you do tend to get seasonally depressed or low over the winter months, or you get recurrent infection, you may have a low vitamin D. And in that case, you can consult your GP for a vitamin D test, and you can get supplements. She has listed a supplement down there, but if you get a test, they might need to give you a higher one, I don't know. So for the winter supplement, she's really emphasised sticking with plant-based quality without excipients. So excipients are those unnecessary chemical compounds that you find in supplements, and those cheaper ones you can buy off the shelf in the supermarket. So steer away from those and go for the pure quality supplements where you can. And you can check our website for Fleur's full blog, and thank you so much, Fleur, for your contribution. Cool, so now we move into our second contributor, Katrina from BlueBorage. She's our garden guru, specialising in compost solutions. So she says, we're lucky here in Auckland that we can have winter gardens. A lot of other places aren't so lucky. So if you're from another part of the country or from the world and you can't have a winter garden, I do apologise. Katrina has provided us with a comprehensive winter soup garden blog, which you can find online. It includes some really simple gardening tips for building a winter garden, either no dig or in containers, a winter planting list, which also tells you what's the seasonal vegetables at this time if you can't have a garden, a stack of winter soup recipes. And Katrina also runs courses, so she's put a couple here, including growing from seed and your grow your first microgreens. And if you're interested in gardening, you can also join her Facebook group there as well. So Katrina also raises in her blog where to get plants. So if possible, grow from seed. Ask people you know that have gardens if they have excess that they can trade. Garden centres offer selection, but it's worth asking how the plants are growing. Like the rest of our food system, a lot of commercial seedlings have been given synthetic fertilisers and grown in less than ideal environments, for giving them a good start to life for the realities of winter. It also makes them less resilient to slugs and snails and other pests. If you can't grow from seed or trade, try and pick a good strong seedling from a small local grower if possible. And if you live in the Auckland area, get in touch with Katrina, because she will be able to recommend some good resources and sources for you. So thank you, Katrina. This slide was requested by a SunnySunday community member. So Denise and I absolutely love it when people get in touch with us from the community to contribute their ideas. So thank you, Alison. I hope you're listening today. She wanted us to mention how good gardening is for our physical, mental, and nutritional health. And I have to agree here. I know that I feel so good being outside in the garden, digging, having your hands in the soil, listening to birds, getting sun on your skin. And the information in the white box here is from the University of Virginia. So depending on the gardening you do, it can be classified as moderate to strenuous exercise, like bike riding. Research is showing that gardening for just 30 minutes a day can help with this impressive list of benefits here. So thank you very much, Alison, for bringing this to our attention. Cool, and now I'm going to move into physical health. So I put a few tips here for how to keep active in winter. So take the long way if you can. I know when I'm volunteering at Starship, you've got the option of mini lifts or mini stairs, so I always try and use the stairs where I can. Park further from the entrance if you're at the supermarket and it's not pouring down with rain. Just try and get those steps up. Take and use your breaks. So if you're someone like me who works a desk job, it's really important to make sure you get up, move away from your computer. For me, I go next door to the coffee shop. Even sometimes if I'm not getting a coffee, I just go chat to people, and yeah, it gets that social interaction as well. You might have a work buddy that you can double that up with. So yeah, and find time and activities that fit your life. So maybe if you're a parent with 3 children at home, maybe taking those breaks and getting that exercise in. Yeah, so just think about what works for you and what's actually achievable in your life. So be prepared and geared for the elements. After today, you might want to think about those winter activities you're going to do and just check you've got what you need. I always have an umbrella in my car. You can see this cute little kid here. He's got his raincoat and his gumboots. And watch the forecast. So yesterday I was talking to Denise, and her partner had decided that they were going to use the clear part of the day to get outside. And that's not to say that you just watch for the clear weather, but it's about knowing the elements and yeah, making use of time and the forecast where you can. And as it says here, those who say only sunshine brings happiness haven't danced in the rain. So don't be afraid to brave the elements as well. Here's a few ways that you can keep active in winter, but I really want you to think for yourself here, what's fun. I've got a few examples that I hadn't considered, but last year I got invited to a game of laser strike for a birthday party, and I was literally puffing at the end of it, and it was so much fun. And that's a really great winter activity for the kids or for adults as well. So yeah, I've got some images here, but have a think about what you want to do over winter and schedule that in to your plan. And we, alongside the lovely Amber Booth, are going to provide you with a heartwarming yoga session for at home. So watch out for our social media, as this will be released in the coming days and ahead of winter. So thank you for this, Amber. We really appreciate your contribution. So how much exercise do we actually need? There's a lot of information out there, but today I'm linking to the amount of exercise we need to ensure we are benefiting our mental well-being. So evidence shows that at least 30 minutes of moderate intensity physical activity on most days a week is linked to improving your mood, and can decrease anxiety and stress, and it's also linked to preventing some serious mental illnesses as well. This can be built up over the day, so you might go for that 15-minute brisk walk in your lunch break and then get home and do a 15-minute jog. Moderate exercise is not where you've got that high intensity and you're really sweating and going blotchy and stuff. It's that you're just getting your breath up, maybe a pearl of sweat on your forehead, but it's not a slow, low activity walk either. So make sure you get that moderate exercise in, at least 30 minutes for most days, and try and mix it up across the week between aerobic and resistance, and it's recommended to do strength training at least twice a week as well. For those extra health benefits over and above our mental health, aim for a minimum of 5 hours of moderate or 2.5 hours of vigorous activity throughout the week. And now we have some Patty motivational magic. So Patrick is someone who has met his own mental health challenges, but only to go on to use them to achieve some pretty massive and impressive goals. And this includes a 102-kilometre ultra marathon, which he also used to raise awareness and funds for mental health. So Patty has supplied us with a blog, which is live on our website now. And I pulled some key take-homes from his blog for you today. As you can see here, he's got some pretty cracker quotes in there, and I really like this photo too. But these are some things that I have pulled from his blog as takeaways for today. So be a supportive partner if you have one. His partner, he was talking about doing a standard marathon, which I think is 42 kilometres. And the next day she turned up with the forms to fill out. So she was listening to what he wanted to do. She was supporting him and backing him. So that's really important, that you listen into what your partners are wanting to do with their lives and support them in that. That goes for friends and family as well. So reach out to friends who have similar motivations. So Paddy knew someone who had already done an ultramarathon, so that helped him talk to them about what their hurdles were, what helped them, etc. And it also makes it more achievable if you can relate to people and see that they've achieved something. So research and look for inspiration. Paddy talks about getting addicted to podcasts and his partner getting sick of running movies, but again, that's all part of that support. Sign up and stick to it, and put the work in to achieve the goal. So I know Paddy personally, and I know that there was a huge amount of dedication, but also a really solid plan, and he had goals along the way that he had to achieve to know that he was going to be able to hit that goal. And use your challenges as material to improve. So as I said, he faced his own challenges, and then he went on to use that as material to aim high. And something I also took away from Paddy's blog is that he actually reviews, he self-reflects, and he takes life lessons on board, which I think is really important, so that we can all become better people. We're not perfect, we can make mistakes, but as long as we try and learn from it and grow from it, I think we can all be better people. So thank you for that, Paddy. Why prioritise mental health over winter? So good quality of life, you deserve it, your loved ones deserve it, but there are also real and not at all unusual mental health disorders linked to winter, including seasonal affective disorder. And this is a bit grim, but very real. Our suicide rates increase in spring, and spring is a time in New Zealand where the summer warmth and daylight and socialness hasn't set in, and we're following in from those long winter months. So this really highlights that wellness over winter is the real deal for you and your loved ones. So I put down a few examples of how we can keep mentally active over winter, but I also want to add here, some of us have mentally active jobs, so sometimes it's also rest we need to prioritise. For those who need to keep themselves and their family members mentally stimulated, there's some ideas here. So books, I listen to audiobooks while I walk. Music, so you could create music the way Vince does. This lady here's got music on, she's dancing in the lounge, so that's a way of keeping mentally stimulated and active. You can see Janae's dancing. Creativity, so this is a really big one for me personally. I use SunnySunday as a creative outlet. You don't have to be an artist, but find ways to be creative. Games is a good one. You don't have to do this face-to-face either. I know tonight me and my extended family are meeting for a trivia night on Zoom. Also, I know people over lockdown were doing puzzles to keep themselves stimulated. Tactile play. So this is a big one for kids, but maybe for adults as well. I was talking to my boss this week, and she mentioned into level 3, she took the boys, her sons, to the beach. And she mentioned the tactile play with the sand and the water, and how their moods were so lifted after a trip to the beach. But this doesn't have to only be outdoors. I know my friend Alex with her son Henry, she has things like she's dyed the pasta blue, she has things on the fridge at his level, all sorts of things like that just create fun and tactile, so they're learning while they're having fun. And finally, learn something new. So I've put a photo of SunnySunday here. Sign up to our events. We bring a new topic every month, but also figure out what you want to learn as well. So at the moment I'm studying Spanish, and one of my goals for this year is to do my dive certificate, and part of that's online, so that gives me some stuff to focus on as well. So figure out what works for you there as well. And here's a few self-care hacks. So for those of us who care a lot about others, we can sometimes forget to put our self-care first. So check in on those conversations you're having with yourself, the time and resource you're putting in, whether you think you're growing as a person or there's things you can learn from as well. And if this is something you struggle with, either look into some of these ideas, or if you feel like you need it, there's no shame in seeking help as well. And such as our guest speaker today, Josh Roche, the coach. I know Josh personally. He's an incredible guy with a cute young family and an exceptional background, but I'm going to leave you with him to run through this. Bear with us for a moment while we switch over the hosting, and I will be back after Josh to present more contributors too. So I hope everyone enjoys this, and welcome Josh.
Okay, there we go. Everything's looking good. Great. Thank you, Kit and Denise, and thanks everyone for contributing to this awesome event. Really excited to have a chat with everyone and go through some ideas. So I think if you want, my face is the main thing. You need to go on speaker view. So if you want to go ahead and do that, please feel free. Otherwise, we'll get started. So I hope everyone can hear me, see me, everything looks all right. So just a little bit about me to get started. A little bit of an interesting story, soldier and then a monk. Some radical changes there. A lot of learning went on through that process. So just go through a little bit of my story. There might be some nuggets in there that we can take from that kind of crazy stuff. So yeah, 16, joined the army. I described school as being profoundly underwhelming. So school was really, nothing reached me. I tried everything, tried to fit into this, tried that, nothing really got me. But I had this dream, this calling of being in the military, being a soldier. So off I went. And yeah, 16, joined the army, started getting involved in all of this sort of thing. And then this was 1990, the first one I did. So things were really different then. It was before Roche went through the services. There was still hazing. It was just a searing experience. We were made to crawl through drains. We had to break the ice. We had to crawl through drains as punishments. We were made to stand outside in the snow for hours and hours and hours in the night just to drive their points home. So really, really intense. And I had no idea what I was getting myself in for. And so, yeah, I went along this journey, and it went on, and I ended up identifying this particular specialization called reconnaissance and surveillance. And they're like the eyes and ears of the battalion commander. We had to fly in or parachute in or helicopter, and what we'd do is go and get eyes on the opponent, the enemy party, and report back to the boss and tell them what's going on. And we'd do things like route proving, where we have to go out and so the main body of troops, the best way to move them across terrain is they just have a slow, steady pace. So we would bound ahead of the main body of troops and reconnaissance the route they're going through and prove it, and leave scouts behind so they can link up with us, and we'd guide them through terrain, all sorts of stuff like that. It was absolutely phenomenal to find myself in this environment. We did courses with the SAS. There was combat tracking, there was combat survival, basic parachuting, all that sort of stuff, abseiling out of helicopters, coming in over the horizon in inflatable boats, jumping off a K out, swimming in, all this sort of stuff, starting the mission. So really, really awesome environment to learn about the mind, about the body, about how experiences, we can use experiences to break us or to strengthen us. And it started forming this fascination with the mind and with the body and the interaction between the two. And so things progressed, and I did my time in the New Zealand Army, had an absolutely phenomenal experience there, rubbed shoulders with some genuine legends who went off to do the SAS stuff and go overseas and do all that high-speed thing. So got this group of friends who, in terms of mental training and physical training, are just at the highest level, and have been for a long time, some of these guys. So really lucky to have had that experience. I then left the military, there were other things I was interested in, but the military is such an immersive experience that I went to the mines in Australia first off, and found that was just really, I was really challenged by the booze culture and just the general sort of mindlessness that was going on there. I needed something higher than just making money and doing the same old. So I came back to New Zealand, and there was always this idea of joining the French Foreign Legion in France. And the Foreign Legion is like a kind of high speed. They're always doing stuff. They're really busy a lot of the time doing soldier stuff. New Zealand, it's very quiet in terms of deployments, that sort of thing. When I was in, it was really quiet. So I went off to France, sold everything, went to France, and there was a whole other tone there. It was a whole other energy in the recruiting compound in southern France there, just outside Marseille, a town called Auban. Pretty serious vibes there, the French Foreign Legion. I found myself surrounded by North Koreans, Central American people, North Africans, Central Africans, a real melting pot of guys who were mostly, like 90% of the recruits I was with at that time, they were really only there for a French passport. They were willing to put up with 5 years of extremely tough soldiering to get that doorway into the European Union. So they weren't there to be soldiers, they were there to become citizens of Europe. There was a tiny handful of former soldiers, so I hung out with them. But it was a big decision for me to make. And like I said, things were pretty serious there. The French Foreign Legion is a serious commitment. So I was there. I'd been well trained previously. They were happy to have me there. I was told I would go to this parachute regiment if I did well enough on basic training. So I had all these things lined up for me, but I just wasn't sure. And it's interesting how the motivation for this new position just completely fell away. I was quite happy to do it in New Zealand for New Zealand, to serve New Zealand. But when I went to France to try and find that same level of motivation, it's hard work. Soldiering's hard work. Your body's on the line a lot. I couldn't find the motivation. And I knew that if I went into this thing, at 50%, that I was going to have a really rough time. So I was agonizing. I was really sweating on that decision. And I talked to this Russian guy, Yuri, who'd been in Afghanistan in the 80s with the Russian army. And so I had the first guy I was really able to talk to about actual combat, like what's it like. And he told me the no holds barred, ugly side of it, So I got it from the horse's mouth, and I sat with a lot of the things that he told me. And I started asking myself, could I really be that person? Could I be that guy who's going to go and do these sorts of things? And I was really in two minds, like, I don't know. I don't really know if I'm sure if I want to carry this kind of stuff. Maybe it'll be all right. Like maybe I won't get exposed to this kind of stuff, but I knew I was kidding myself. So I was really like on the fence, this way, that way, this way. And this day was approaching where you sign the 5-year contract. And when you sign the contract, it's like you're in, there's no getting out. And so they're going to, you'll sweep paths and peel potatoes for 5 years if you don't want to be the soldier guy, the combat guy. So anyway, big decision, momentous decision. Did I want blood on my hands? This whole thing, mad. Looking back at it, I think, what was going on? But anyway, the morning of the signing of the contract, I was really like, wow, today's the day. Like, what's the decision? And I remember I wasn't praying, but I was just asking for a sign, like, what's I couldn't make the decision. I needed help. So I just put it out there. Didn't know what I was doing. I was asking the universe. And so just give me a sign, like it's hours away now. It's 2 hours, 9 o'clock. And when I thought to myself, you should do it. You're already trained. You know what you're doing. It's not going to be a big shock for you. And as I thought about giving myself the green light, I heard a fight break out in the compound. And previously I had all my socks stolen. Someone stole my soap. These are pretty rough characters, sort of survival street level dudes all over the world, sort of desperate characters, some of them. And as I was thinking that thought, I should do this fight broke out, and that was a sign against. So I was like, these are my comrades. These are going to be my comrades. And I don't know if I would trust them with my life, basically. That was the thought. So when I thought about joining, this fight broke out. I don't know what. It was probably about cigarettes or something stupid, just stupid stuff. And then, so the other option, what if I left? And just as I thought that thought, this awesome peace just descended on my location. The fight finished, and there was just this pristine moment of calm. I'll never forget it. Like, no wind, no bucking dogs, no traffic, nothing, just this perfect stillness. And my gaze went outside of this compound, outside of the French Foreign Legion, and out into southern France. Beautiful. Southern France is beautiful. And I projected myself out of this reality and into being free and being able to make my own decisions and live my life. And instantly, just happiness welled up inside me. I felt connected to being out there, and I felt very, very troubled by being where I was. And it was obvious to me the decision was to leave. So seconds later, I'm walking to the commander there, and I say, "Moi, les gens finis," like this. I'm finished with the Legion. And they were like, "Wow," because they don't really get a lot of quality recruits. They have to work hard to shape these sort of desperados from all over the world into soldiers. So I left this place, left this whole identity, been soldiering for 9 years. What was I going to do? Who was I going to be? Where was it going to happen? Just wow, like a complete divestment of a personality. All these belief structures, all this identity, all these values. Wow, it was just a blank slate, basically. And so went home to England, family in England, did a bit of work, got some money, went back to New Zealand. Had a talk with my mum. My mum was very switched on about the deeper tides, the deeper currents of life. And she had a very good library, and I was always reading spirituality, and I was always very interested in that. And interestingly enough, parallel to the soldier archetype, if you like, or path, there was this other sort of competing archetype or path of being a monk. So there's two fascinations in my life: is this warrior and the monk. And this monk idea was just like so far away. I mean, I had my buddies, I was talking to them, they were going through SAS training cycle, they were deploying here, they were doing this stuff, and they were like, "You should come back, man, you should do this stuff." And I was like, man, I don't know, I'm kind of finished. It feels like it's done. Kind of like I've given enough to that kind of experience. So I went to Australia. My intention was to work building the Games Village. Sydney had the Olympics for 2000. So I was going to work doing whatever I could find in 1999 before the Olympics. And fate or destiny or karma or whatever you want to call it led me to this place called Byron Bay. I left Sydney. I couldn't handle Sydney, and went up the coast of Byron Bay. Beautiful, amazing surf, very chilled, very relaxed, great nature, lovely environment. And I heard of this thing called woofing, where you work on organic farms, and got the woofing guide. And the Australian woofing guide is like a book. I was like, wow, you can really have some experiences with this. But there was this curiosity, this inquisitiveness around some kind of spiritual centered lifestyle. I didn't really know what that would look like. I'd read a few things. I'd read the basic Buddhist sutras, and I was aware of yoga and this sort of stuff. That was background to my life growing up. Seeds were sown when I was very young. And so there was this Hare Krishna farm community, a couple of hours north of Byron Bay, just outside a town called Murwillumbah. Hare Krishnas, what's that about? I kind of had a vague understanding they were sort of weird. You know, they sell books and stuff, and they chant, and they sort of look a bit sort of weird, and kind of, what's the story? And I kind of was, but it called to me for some reason, and I was like, wow, what's the story with this? Why not go and have a look? What have I got to lose? I'm always open to new experiences. I always try and maintain that childish curiosity, just that naivety. Let's just go and see. So I rang them up. They had space at this farm. So off I went. And wow, I tell you, it was just, the army was a homecoming. It was a calling and a homecoming. But then this Hare Krishna farm, I would never have thought was as much, perhaps even more, a feeling of a homecoming than the military was. It was just hand to glove. That I walked through this gate over this bridge. They have 1,000-acre farm there. It's beautiful. It's northern New South Wales. It's absolutely stunning. Half of it's, well, a quarter of it perhaps is bush, subtropical bush, animals, bats everywhere. And I walked onto this property, and there's cows, and I felt so, what's the word, like loved and accepted. This is before I even met anyone. I was like, what's the story with this place? Let me look at this. And so I went and saw the temple, the community president, and they were all just like, wow, welcome. Let's talk, and what's your story, and this sort of thing. And they're really interested. They were never hard selling the Krishna stuff. They were just connecting at a heart level. And it was what I needed, having 9 years of really, really hard living as a soldier. This was just balm. This was nectar, as they say. And I was like, wow, what a lifestyle to live, this farm and this community. And there was probably, I don't know, maybe 100, 120 people on this farm, 1,000-acre farm. So a couple of families, you know, a full-on brahmachari, renunciate monk sort of area where they did their thing. I was like, what's that about? And I was put to work. So this farm was a medieval Vedic community. So no modern farming implements. Everything's done by hand. And I found myself working with this guy called Lagudi Das, and we did the bullocks. We did bullock teams, and we had these big Brahman cows. You know, they have this big dewlap on the back of their necks, and underneath there's a big dewlap. Then there's this big bump, and you put the yoke behind this bump. Big horns, they're just like a gigantic heart, just this big heart, and they come up and they smooch you. And you have big, like this huge head, and you hug this head, and they lick you and stuff. And I was just, wow, these cattle, these beautiful animals. And so I would plow the fields for the community. We would grow the vegetables for the community. And I was just in love with this lifestyle, bare feet every day, hanging out with these beautiful animals, getting to know the art of driving ox teams, and hanging out with this crazy Lagudi character. Really interesting characters on that place. So learning the art of bhakti yoga, which is devotional service. You do everything for others, everything for others, everything for others, for the divine, for the Krishna, or for the community. You sacrifice your work for the good of others, and you don't claim the rewards of your work. You offer your work as a sacrifice, as a yoga. So I learned this different way of being, very different to this hardcore soldier stuff, and I fell in love with that lifestyle and just pursued it. Right into as deep as it could go, and took this brahmachari vow, this celibacy, this monk kind of lifestyle, and things got pretty tight then, pretty serious. There's a whole lot of daily observances you have to hit. There's ablutions, and there's Mangalati, this morning ritual that starts at 4, and then you do your japa, your meditation on your beads, chanting mantras. And I went at this lifestyle like a dying man in the desert who's found some water. The mantra was just this, so good for my system, my nervous system, the lifestyle, the climate, the people, the spiritual focus, what was the center of everyone's life was this spiritual evolution, this growth and understanding the mind and limitations and blocks, and just fascinating. And so I ended up going to India the 3rd year, and was very, very fortunate. The planets aligned, that where I was, there were good teachers, and they would give me a set of practices. I would do them, and then I would be handed off to another teacher. And as luck would have it, they were all genuine, sincere, experienced people, and they were able to read me really well and look at my weaknesses and put me into situations where I would confront my weaknesses and sit with them for days and days. And so that the yoga that I went through over there has no resemblance to what we see as yoga in the West, which is just exercise. Over there, it's the systematic removal of everything that you use as a crutch to prop yourself up psychologically. So the teachers would look at someone, if they're really talkative, if they're over socializing, if that's their crutch, then wow, they're taking a vow of silence, or they're being sent on a solo retreat for 2 weeks. So they don't have that. My one was activity. I'm always busy doing activity. I was doing yoga, like hard, like sort of more like calisthenics and army stuff than yoga. So they were like, okay, we're going to put you in this cave and we'll wall you up, and you've got your beads and you're going to chant, and that's you. So I couldn't move. I had to sit still. That was my torture. So I had to face myself being immobile. And so the mind starts to unravel, and all the fuel sources you use to describe yourself to yourself, they start running out when there's no incoming stimulus. So I'm sitting in the dark for days, little hole. I take out my brick, there's a knock. I take out my brick, the bottom brick. They hand me my rice and dal. I put the brick back, and I hit my routine again. 4-hour blocks of breath work and meditation. So you get pretty deep in there, and it unraveled the military training, all the kind of abusive, I suppose you could call it abusive training that we went through, the combat survival stuff, resistance to interrogation, all the brutalizing, the pain tolerance training, the sleep deprivation, cold environments, all this sort of stuff, exposure. I kind of relived a lot of my traumas and came to understand that the body holds all this trauma. The emotions are really I learned that my emotions are like a tuning fork, a kind of compass to tell me when things are off, and that when I should address things. And so it taught me this whole range of psychophysical methodologies and principles and interventions that we can use to unpack trauma, to unpack pain, to understand it, to understand our relationship to life itself, where we are in life, what we have as strengths, what we have as weaknesses. It reframed a whole set of self-perceptions I had around, particularly as a soldier. It's very, very forceful, and it's very, very, I remember getting to the stage late in my career where there's a kind of bull, you turn into a kind of bull mentality you just, if they go, okay, wait, okay, go, and you just charge and you don't stop for 3, 4, 5 days at a time, you get this capacity to do things. And it unpacked a lot of all of that, this pressure, this achievement mania, and I got balance. I was able to get balance for the first time in my life. So I had an off gas. I learned how to turn to switch off the gas. So I was a monk for 3 years. That last year in India, as I said, was a procession of expertly timed techniques and retreats and teachers that just blew the doors off my consciousness. What happened in that year is beyond the scope of what we're going into today. If anyone wants to hear more about that stuff, please get in touch. It's interesting what goes on in the mind when certain things are applied to it over time. So, but anyway, to cut a long story short, I got what I was looking for. As a brahmachari, I was so in love with the lifestyle and the challenge and the growth that I was prepared to make that my life. I had nothing. I sold everything. I was completely committed. But that year in India showed me the answers that I wasn't expecting to reach until I was old, like an old dude. So again, what do I do now? I've found what I'm looking for. I've got the existential questions answered. I understand my place in this body, in this world, in this universe. I'm not seeking. I've found, like Patanjali, one of his yoga sutras, I've found stable ground. So I was stabilized in yoga now. I was no longer searching. I had found. So I dropped the robes, went to England and reintegrated again after. So yeah, this is my whole. This is from 16 till 30, living these two lifestyles. So yeah, I had to rebuild this mind, this personality, learn how to interact and relate and pay bills and all this sort of stuff came crashing back. So since then, I've been traveling the world, teaching what I've experienced and also learning from others, and legitimizing legitimizing my experiences by gaining qualifications that give me a way to speak about them to audiences. The soldier audience is pretty small, the monk audience is pretty small, so I sought to find better ways of describing those experiences and make a business out of them, which I've done. So I work as a coach, a strength and conditioning trainer, personal trainer. I'm an instructor for New Zealand life coaching. I'm very lucky to present their 5-day life coach course around the country. I run a mindfulness course through New Zealand life coaching, a 2-day mindfulness practitioner's certification. And yeah, I train athletes. I coach all sorts of very amazing people in all sorts of very interesting ways. Got a lady at the moment writing a book, and her thing was to step into the limelight and be the author and present that story and be the person. Any number of things, body, mind, and spirit. You'll find me there, fascinated with it all. So that's a little introduction about me. We're going to move into the material for the rest of this presentation. So how it's going to look, we've got a little bit of an introduction to some basic mindfulness methods. We'll do 2 little meditations. They'll be 2 or 3 minutes each long in duration. Then we'll move into a 3-step rebuilding resilience method. Okay, and we'll move into that a little bit later. And lastly will be a breath technique that we can use to meet whatever demands or whatever needs we might have in the day. So that's how the rest of this presentation will play out. So moving into mindfulness, the first little piece we'll work on, mindfulness. Wow, if anyone's done a Vipassana course, that's a mindfulness-based practice, an insight practice. I've been lucky enough to do 10 of those over the years. I highly recommend Vipassana meditation, 10-day retreat up in Kalkopa, north of Auckland. Absolutely phenomenal. It's a miniature monastic experience. You go there, you take vows, you don't speak, you sleep by yourself, you sit in a hall for 10 hours a day doing nothing but meditate. They cook the food for you. No excuses to not meditate. They make it difficult to not meditate, which is great. So mindfulness, phenomenal technique. There's so much study on it now. I encourage everyone to look into it, to find ways of relating it to yourself and understand it for yourselves. There's a lot of research around the stress management. You can take it anywhere. Like I said, you can bend it to your needs if you like. It's good for skill acquisition. It's good for maintaining focus because you're training your mind to focus. Any number of things. Have a look at the research, dive into it. It's an enormously gratifying field of study. One point I'll make before we go into our little techniques here, it really is the key kind of pivot point for mindfulness is that it gives us an objective view of our thought process. Too often we're stuck in our thinking and identifying with our thoughts. This thought comes, we identify, we feel this way, then that passes, and then pretty soon the next thought, we identify, we feel that way, and it passes, and we're identifying. That's kind of the opposite. That's mindlessness. That's non-thinking or unthinking, if you like. Thinking is the opposite of that. It's being structural. It's being focused. It's being not kind of strategic, but purposeful. Purposeful is a better word. Purposeful thinking. So mindfulness gives us that ability to step outside our thoughts and just observe them as if we're this witness, which is, I mean, that's one of the goals of mindfulness. And in my time as a monk, mindfulness was like this foundational quality where all the other qualities were layered in on top, all the other meditation techniques. So we need to understand how our mind works. We can't be in it. We can't see what's happening if we're in it. We've got to get an objective perspective. So that's really the main point I'll make in terms of the benefits. It gives us that objective perspective, which is so valuable because we're not our thoughts, which blew my mind coming into this kind of stuff for the first time. Wow, well, what are we then? And these swamis, these sannyasins, these sadhus in India, these holy people, they were like, well, you're the witness, you're the observer, and you choose, and you don't have to be bullied or harangued or chased by your thoughts. You're the master of your thoughts because you can witness them. You can just choose to step back. You don't have to chase them and go with them and identify them. Just relax and observe. So let's do a couple of little techniques really quickly. It'll just give us a little taste of what we're kind of looking for. So the first practice we're doing is just a simple breath. We're breathing in and out naturally, unforced, no holding or retention or force. Just let the breath work as it needs to. And at that very, very end of each exhalation, all we're going to do is count 1, 2, 3, up to 10, and then back down to 1. Okay, that's all we're going to do. So I'll set my little timer here. We'll give it a go for 2 minutes. 2 minutes today. And so that's it. We breathe in, we breathe out, and at the end of each exhalation, we throw that word in 1, 2. All right, so let's get started. I'll start the timer. So if you want to close your eyes, feel free. If not, if your eyes are open, nothing wrong. Just make sure the eyes are relaxed. The idea is to relax the whole body. So I'm going to close my eyes, but I have to look at the watch, so I'll be opening them. So take 3 long, deep breaths just quickly. And all these 3 long, deep breaths are doing is just centering ourselves, getting our minds into the body, bringing our awareness to the breath, allowing the nervous system to sort of step down a little bit, the metabolism to step down, the brain waves to start stepping down, slowing down. So once you've got your 3 long, deep breaths out of the way, just keep a light focus on the exhalation, because the exhalation is how we ride the elevator down into those deeper levels of consciousness, into the subconscious. So we've got our timer going. I'll let you breathe and count by yourself. I won't be counting for everyone. So we breathe in and we're exhaling. And at the very end of each exhalation, we throw that number in. And we just let that roll. And when the mind comes in, makes some noise, all we do is go back to the object of meditation, the breath and the count. And just follow that exhalation. Keep a light focus on that exhalation. And as you breathe out, you just feel the body becoming softer, lighter, calmer. And that thought train, those passing thoughts, they may be a little bit further away than usual. Not so loud, not so engaging. And just keep that breath going, keep that count going. That's all you've got to do in this moment of time, sitting, breathing, and counting. Nothing more. Pure and simple. Good. Great, everyone. Okay. Just take a long, deep breath in, a little bit more of a stronger, sharper breath. When you're ready, the eyes are opening and we're back in our rooms, back on this call. So one little point with meditation, be very careful about making it a kind of, I've got to do it this way or that way, I've got to get it right, some kind of achievement focus or competition with yourself, or that you've got to stop the thoughts, or some kind of gamesmanship, some gaming with it going on. Switch the mind off from all that sort of stuff. I always recommend, while we're meditating, all of the usual mental analysis and ruminating and thinking and brooding and questioning and wondering and all of that sort of stuff, that's suspended while we're meditating. And the sole focus is that object of meditation. That's all we're doing. So simple. And we just keep coming back and back and back to that object of meditation. Even the Buddha, the master meditator, he left so many nuggets. One of them for meditation, 1,000 times start again. 1,000 times start again. So don't feel bad about wandering off and thinking, wow, this is too hard. That's just normal. The mind will wander. Okay, that's the first practice. The second practice we've got is where the same breath, the same count is going on, but this time we're observing the thoughts as they pass. We let unproductive, troublesome, negative thoughts pass, but when a good thought comes, we move into that and we sit with that and we open that up. We expand that positive thought. We expand that positive moment. And we sit in that for a little period of time. Naturally, we're not trying to freeze it and hold that positive moment. It comes, we move into it. When it passes, we let it go. And then we just back to our breath, back to our observation, waiting for the next positive thought. So everyone understand that? Pretty simple. We're just going to sit back again, 2 more minutes. And as I said, breath, counting, but we're watching the thoughts this time. We're active participants and we're choosing which thought is a beneficial thought, a wholesome thought, a thought that will do us good. Because remember, the body's always listening to the mind. Stressful thinking produces cortisol, produces tension, produces fatigue. Choosing good thoughts and sitting with them, that washes the body with all of those beneficial neurotransmitters, those hormones. So let's have a little go. 2 minutes. Take a long, deep breath. If you want to, close your eyes again. One more deep breath. And just allow yourself to just follow that exhalation down into a relaxed space. Have a look at those thoughts. See what's moving past the mind. If something really cool pops up, have a think about it. Sit in it. Visualize it. Feel it. And when it's time, let it pass. Don't try and hold it and crave for it. Just enjoy that moment. Good. And just let it go when it's time. Those unwholesome, troublesome thoughts, let them pass. Let them pass across the screen of the mind. When something else cool comes up, something interesting, something worth your time, something worth actually your time and your precious lifetime thinking about, have a look at it, have a think about it. Feel it, investigate it, enjoy it, and let it pass when it's time. Okay, that is our second mindfulness practice. Take a long, deep breath. Breathe yourself back into your room, into where you are. And we will move straight into our resilience practices. So, again, any questions about mindfulness, please don't hesitate to get in touch. I'll leave my contact details at the end of this presentation. So, resilience. We'll move through this reasonably quickly. There's a few points to get through. So I'll start by just saying we're all resilient most of the time. We all find a natural equilibrium with ourselves, with our responsibilities, our environment, our plans, and we're generally speaking quite resilient most of the time. Sometimes though, a combination of stresses builds up, or we get a fastball out of nowhere and we get knocked out of our equilibrium, out of our normal resilient space. There's a host of attendant physiological symptoms to that. Like I was mentioning before, if we're blown out of our orbit momentarily, we get stressed, we get anxious, we become uncertain. So that produces a cortisol environment in the body. If there's too much stress and we lose touch with our resilience too far, then we get that tunnel vision that's associated with a high stress environment. We lose connection to our higher mind function, which is creative thinking, problem solving. We lose sight of the options that we have. We start to shrink into this little feedback loop of I can't work out how it's going to get better. Am I stuck here forever? We start really agonizing and sweating it. And because we've lost touch with that ability to think constructively and creatively, and we lose touch with our resilience momentarily. So this little section we're going to go through is how can we rebuild resilience if we've lost it? First one, point one, the first thing is self-awareness. And this links directly back to mindfulness. If we're practicing mindfulness daily, we're really self-aware. That's a trained ability. So self-awareness is point one. And sub-point one of this is what's the self-talk? What am I telling myself about this experience? Am I dooming myself with piles of negativity? Am I building a negative feedback loop without even knowing it? Am I dooming myself to a repetition, a dark Groundhog Day where it's just I'm going to be repeating this environment, repeating this situation? So step one, self-awareness. And what's the self-talk? What's the dialogue? What's the narrative? What am I telling myself about this experience? Second step, what are my options? Okay, so there's two sub-points to this one. What are my options? The first point is what are my options at an inner level? And what I mean by that is let me get a hold of this stress response, with this worry, with this, whatever it is, anger, blame, guilt, resentment, whatever whatever the narrative is, let me get a hold of this, because that's where the action needs to start, from the inside out. We've got to understand which parts of the situation we can take ownership of. There's a lot of moving parts with any experience, any situation. What can I own? What can I be responsible for? Because that will create a sense of control again, and we've got something to work with there. So that point one, what are my options? Let me get centered. First off, let me get understanding what's my part in this. And also, I always suggest to reach out to others, call some switched on people, call some strong people who perhaps been through stuff and they've got an idea of a working plan, because it just gives you more options. When we're stuck in this tunnel, in this feedback loop of doom and gloom and, oh my God, woe is me, we need to have a fresh perspective. We need other options. So call these other people and reach out. Sometimes to a qualified expert even. That helps a lot. I've been in situations myself where I've had therapy, and it's been awesome to get a structure, a scaffold to climb out of the hole with. So seek other perspectives. And then sub-point 2 to step 2, step 1 was the inner stuff, and then step 2 was the outer stuff. So 3 options on step 2: go forward, keep going, keep doing what you're doing, hoping it'll get better. Maybe you need to, maybe you can't really change things at the moment, so you just have to go forward and work your plan out after. Second option is to hold, just stay still, not do anything, which is completely valid. And then lastly, we can withdraw. We can get the hell out of there. So understanding what are my options around those 3 ideas, and that will then, of course, give a plan. You'll be able to start building a plan, a wellness plan, whatever. I've got to get out of this position at work, and a plan of getting out of there. And then step 3 for the rebuilding resilience is taking action. We must take action. We must back ourselves enough to get over the line to take action. We must go forward, because when we move, when we create movement, it's like a wheel that's stopped, and when you start turning the wheel, it crunches and it groans and grinds, but then it slowly starts to get momentum and it starts to turn. And that's like the mind. We want to free the mind up from this negative feedback loop, from this narrative, this dark perhaps narrative, and we want to get this momentum. We want to create some momentum in the right directions. That we link that back to step 2. What's the plan? Go forward, hold, withdraw, wellness options, this sort of stuff. What's the plan? Step 3 is taking action, is making the plan real. So we get out of helplessness and frustration and repetition and victimhood, all this sort of stuff. It's taking a hold of the options and making a plan and taking action. So that's a really, really brief set of ideas about how to rebuild resilience if it's been broken down by a situation or some kind of environment, some circumstance. I know it's pretty crazy out there for a lot of people right now. It really helps to have these kind of structures, because the mind loves structure. The mind has many levels: the reasoning, the intellect. It loves having a structure. It loves to go to work on stuff like that. So give the mind a job. That's that 3rd step, taking action. The mind starts to turn, it starts to move, and you get that momentum, and then you see things differently. You're out of that hole. You're not stuck anymore. So that's our little piece on resilience. Again, get in touch if you've got anything you want to follow up on that. And lastly, that brings us to our little breath technique at the end here. So breath, phenomenal. As a brahmachari, as this monk guy, breath was foundational. It's the link between the body, the mind, and emotions. It's something that we have conscious control of. It's a phenomenal modulator of experience. I know often, I remember I nearly died parachuting in the army. My parachute didn't open. This was low level static line, not free fall, high altitude. This was low level. My parachute didn't open. I had line twists, and it was nighttime, night jump. And I got these things open. The thing opened. 4 seconds later, I hit the ground. Like it was open enough to just start slowing me down. So I was decelerating when I hit the ground. Phenomenal impact. Really, really scary. But then, of course, next day, we're jumping again. And it was like super early because the weather, it's all about weather. So we were up at 4. We were all rigged up at sunrise, and we took off with the sunrise. And so flying up for that next jump after that night jump previously, wow, I was freaking out, really, really frightened about taking that next jump and hoping, so what's the narrative? What's going on in my head? What can I do to get out of this, dooming myself to some horrendous immediate future? Breath, let me breathe. So I used breath in that moment to get myself out of that fight or flight and understand and open the mind back up again. I need to hit that exit. I need to penetrate the slipstream. I need to stay tight. I need to blah, 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 all these drills. And it was the breath that got me through the drama of that next jump. It was literally hours later. So the breath is phenomenally powerful. I use it for all sorts of stuff. Driving around in daily life, deep belly breathing, excellent. Have a do some research on breath techniques. They're fun and they yield really quickly. So we've got a little bit of time. We'll do one technique today. This is how it breaks down, guys. Nothing too spectacular, nothing too technical. The protocol is 3 sets of 10 breaths. And in between those sets of 10 is a 30-second break. That's the protocol. And I'll just leave that there. They're fast and strong, in through the nose, out through the mouth. There's no holding. There's no gaps between the in and out. So it's pretty, it's a good pump like that. So we'll come back to that. But to qualify the technique, the idea is to ask yourself, what do you need with your breath technique? So we can do this breath technique and it will have an effect. It's sometimes hit and miss, but if we understand what we need, we can use this basic technique and steer the effects into or out of areas that we want or don't want in our experience in that moment. So you ask yourself, what do you need, and what do you need in terms of qualities? Like, have you had a stressful day? Do you want to release stress? Do you have a presentation? Do you have a whatever, something approaching in the future you need to be prepared for? Do you need to embody some quality that would help you with that? Some kind of focus or some kind of confidence or engagement or whatever you need. So you choose what you need, and then you use the principle of energy follows thought, and you guide the energy that you're creating through the breath technique into the qualities you want to embody, or you take out the qualities you want to take out of you want to disembody, you want to get out of your experience. So does everyone understand that? So have a little think, what kind of qualities would be really good for me right now that I want to bring in, or what kind of qualities would I like to let out of my experience? So have a little think, and then we'll go through our little exercise, and then that will be us. We'll be finishing shortly after that. So everyone's got an idea of what they're doing. Remember, it's 3 sets of 10. I'll take us through the count and the 30 seconds in between. So everyone's got their qualities. I want to bring something in, or I want to let something out. So if you're bringing something in, you focus on the inhale, and when you're letting something out, you focus on the exhale. So everyone's got that. Bring something in, focus on the inhale. If you're letting something out, focus on the exhale. And when we go into that 30-second break, you keep that same focus. If it's a word, if it's confidence, if it's calm, relaxed, whatever it is, during that 30-second break, you focus on that word, on that quality. You observe the oxygenation effect going on in your physiology. You're loading that energy with this intention, with this quality, with this energy. So everyone's got that. All right, let's get started. So 3 sets of 10 with a 30-second break in between. Got my stopwatch here for our 30 seconds. Okay, so get comfortable. Maybe you want to close your eyes. Take just one long, normal deep breath just to get centered. And away we go. In through the nose, out through the mouth, fast and strong. Good. Now we've got our 30 seconds. Observe that shift in physiology. Sow that seed of energy, that quality you're looking for. You want to be calm. Now you think about calm, calm. And as that energy settles back into your body, you're embodying calm, calm, whatever quality you're looking to bring in. And here's our next set. Our 30 seconds coming up. And away we go. Second set, same again. Good. Here's our second 30 seconds. Observe that energy again. We've highly oxygenated ourselves. We've saturated ourselves with oxygen. We take a hold of that oxygen, that energy, and we load it with this quality. So we breathe this quality down into our nervous system, into our bodies, and just observe the effect. Great, everyone. A little bit lightheaded maybe. Last one. Here we go. Last set, and away we go. There we go. 30 seconds more. Sit with it. Allow that energy to settle. Breathe it in. Awesome. And when you're ready, eyes are opening. Just observe that state change. Breathing is a phenomenal state change. I was going for some clarity. I certainly feel clearer. Have a little think about what you are going after and come to understand that energy follows thought, that you can direct that 30 seconds between the breaths into a really constructive little moment. There's no reason to stop at 3 sets either. Once you get used to that lightheadedness, that gets further and further away. You can do 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, 10 times, and you really, really load yourself with that good stuff. Okay, everyone, that's my little presentation today. Thanks to Kit and Denise again for putting this on. It's been absolutely phenomenal. I'm really happy to be in front of everyone and to be given this opportunity. Let me leave with two little things to take away. First one, master your self-talk. Master your self-talk. That's critical. What are you telling yourself? What's the story? What's the narrative? Understand why that is, where it's coming from. Is it your stuff? Did you pick that up? Is it really you? Understand your self-talk. And secondly, a really great guiding kind of affirmation or statement for me with all this sort of work, this self-development stuff, or taking on challenges, or moving into business stuff, whatever it is, no failure, only feedback. No failure, only feedback. Such a valuable little piece to help guide you. This is that whole thing. If you knew you couldn't fail, what would you do? This statement backs that up. Well, I'm not going to fail. Even if things don't work out how I want, I still got feedback. Let me tinker with this for a bit, change my approach, have another turn. So no failure, only feedback. And as I said before, everyone, any questions, please don't hesitate to drop me a line at joshroche.com. Just jump on there. I think Kit, Denise have links to that on this presentation page somewhere. And with that, thanks again. I'll hand you back to Kit. So let me just go and do this handover again. Thanks, everyone. I had an absolute blast. Sorry, Kit, I've just got to scroll down and find you. There we go. Okay, should be going over now. All right, thanks everyone. I'm going to go on mute now. Fantastic.
Can you hear me, Josh? I have a quick question for you. Someone asked what part of India you were in.
South India, mainly South India. It was Kerala, Karnataka, a little bit of Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, and then at the end, a little bit up north, so Varanasi, Rishikesh, Haridwar, and then a bit of a walk up to Galmukh, the source of the Ganga. So yeah, the pilgrimage spots really. Bodh Gaya, I went to Bodh Gaya, that sort of stuff. Away from the cities as much as I can, that sort of thing. So South India mainly, outside Trivandrum, in the hills outside Neerdam.
Cool, thank you.
Cool.
Really enjoyed that. So I'll just switch back to my share screen, everybody. So bear with me a second. And it's just started raining here, so you might be able to hear that as well. Hopefully that doesn't affect the audio too much. Got a tin roof, I'm sitting in a warehouse. Cool, so thank you, Josh. That was incredible. I didn't know what we were doing today, and I took a lot from that. I just also wanted to touch on that Josh actually supported Paddy through his journey into achieving the 102 kilometre ultramarathon. I think he was a big support, and he was the one of those motivated friends that Paddy mentions, and also someone who's achieved, I think, ultramarathons himself. Yep, he said yes, so cool. And also Josh helped me. I went through some stuff, and then I hit a bit of grief as well, and Josh helped me get out of that victim mentality that you can fall into when you've had quite a few things happen in a short amount of time. So thank you for that, Josh. You're a great support. I still practice that belly breathing if I'm going somewhere and I can feel that anxiety coming on. It's a really good tool for me to use, so thanks for that, Josh. And now I'm going to move into the connection and conversation portion of our presentation. So I'm going to start with the nature connection. So I discovered John Young via a TED Talk. I'm a bit of a TED Talk addict. John has spent 40 years exploring the human connection with nature and its effects on culture and well-being. And his research has found that attributes exhibited by people who have experienced the benefits of nature connection are these 8 words here. So they may look like a bunch of buzzwords on a slide, but they are actually substantiated by years of research from all sorts of cultures around the globe. And if you're actually looking at those words, they're pretty amazing. I put in the chat just then that my word that I was bringing in as we did the breathwork just then was vitality. So that was a word that stuck with me during that, that feeling of aliveness or visionary. There's some pretty good words there. So there's also a strong connection with nature. It is also linked to your ability to regulate your emotions. So if you're feeling like you're struggling with that, along with some breath work and things like that, try and get in your connection with nature. Sometimes it's used to help those with learning disabilities to aid their learning because it's a safer and more calm environment for them. And before I move into the human connection, I just wanted to touch on our Sunny Sunday nature walk in January. It was possibly my favourite one so far. Here you can see us all stop to admire kauri trees on the Arataki Nature Trail. This is a collective nature connection and mindfulness, so collective mindfulness, and it was a really great day, and we're going to look at doing another one of these in future, so please keep an eye out on that. I genuinely feel like everyone was really buzzing after this event, so keep an eye out. And now I want to move into our, just want to check my audio quickly. Yep, that's all good. Now I want to move into our human connection for wellness. And I chose to ask Zane Munro to contribute for this event because the work he's doing is incredible. Many of us are aware of the devastating suicide and mental illness statistics, particularly in our young men. Zane is doing what he can to reduce these statistics. Zane is not only an ambassador for mental health through his own Instagram forum, but he is also so inclusive and supportive of other initiatives. He didn't hesitate to jump on board to support us today. He checks in to see how he can help share our events and stories. He gives us uplifting feedback and support. I'm going to play you a shortened version of his video now, and the full clip is available on our website today too. So here you go.
Breathwork has been a true saviour for me, but also the brothers that I surround myself with.
Next stop. 3.
Breathwork has been a true saviour for me, but also the brothers that I surround myself with. I surround myself nowadays with men who are open-minded, who speak on their troubles, who speak on their problems, and who speak on those hard times, because it isn't about the good times. It's the good times are there, but those bad times are the things that we need to face, because if we don't face those bad times, then those good times mean nothing at all. My goal is to remove the stigma around men and mental health, to make it common, to make it normal, and to make it a general conversation between the brothers. We can sit down and have our beers as boys, but one of those conversations we should be having while we're sitting around having those beers is, how the fuck was your week? How are you feeling? How's things at home? How have you been dealing with what's happening in the world at the moment? Literally, those small little questions spark a conversation that can snowball and can create some massive change in the way that men think and the way that men see things. You're here for me, we're all in this together, and brothers, it isn't weak to speak. It's not less manly to front up about your emotions or your feelings. And to be honest, the second you speak about them, they're into the universe. That's when you can start the real healing, and you can start working on yourself. It isn't weak. Let's be brothers.
Cool. So the work Zane is doing to better the men in our communities through conversation and removing the stigma around opening up, sharing emotions, and feeling comfortable and safe to speak about mental health is epic, and we back this 3000%. Zane also sets up online challenges and collaboration topics to keep people physically and mentally active. For example, he has a push-up challenge at the moment, so it's got guys interacting, but it's also raising awareness and I think funds as well for suicide prevention. And another one I saw last week, he shared a really cool post on how getting into the habit of sharing 3 things you're grateful for every day for 21 days can break a habit, and then he encouraged men to share through his page. And the amount of men out there, you know, these are kind of like blokey looking guys that are out there sharing their stories to help each other. It's really incredible. And like Zane said, it's a snowball effect. So if you use Instagram, please follow and support him, because he really is sharing a crucial message, and he is doing it with the best intentions. As I mentioned, a lot of the caring types often don't realize quite how incredible they are. So we just want to take this opportunity to ensure we tell Zane that today. So thank you, Zane, for your message and your support for SunnySunday. It's really appreciated.
Breathwork is
Cool. So as I mentioned at the beginning, I'm definitely not a mental health professional, but what I can reflect on is being a good friend and support, having a strong support network, and also having had worked through some fairly big challenges over the last few years. I'm still working through them, but how important the role friends and family have played in helping me get through to a healthier version that I strive to be. It's been a pretty tough road, which is part of why today is so dear to me. Your health matters to me. So I'm going to give you 2 real friendship stories here. But first, since they're listening, I just wanted to say a big thanks to my parents for their support too. They're just with me through thick and thin, which is really, really incredible. Okay, so my first story I want to share is my closest friend Alex. So when Alex and her husband James had their son Henry, they named me as his godmother. This was at a time I really needed to feel loved and seen for the kind things I do for the people around me. Henry was the light of some of my very dark days. James and Alex invited me into their home. They offered me a room in their house, which I didn't take, but knew was always there. And having Henry to visit and babysit gave me happiness and purpose. I don't expect anyone to run out and have babies to help their friends out of a tough spot. But what I'm saying is Alex and James were busy raising a baby. They have more than made that their priority, and they could have made space to love a friend. They made space to love a friend even in a time they had a lot else going on, because they could see I needed extra love and support. These three are like family to me, and I'll never forget this. This second story is Denise, my SunnySunday partner, and an absolute ray of sunshine in my life and many others. I haven't done this on purpose to promote SunnySunday. She's a real deal good person. So when I hit that low last year, she just let me talk. She let me feel heard. She was honest with me, even if it wasn't what I wanted to hear sometimes. She supported me through keeping SunnySunday going together at a time I had nothing left in the tank. And here's an example of a relatively simple yet so meaningful act of friendship and kindness, far more feasible than gifting your friend a God kid. So I turned up to Denise's house one day for a catch up, and she had an orchid sitting on the bench with the nicest letter I've ever received in my life. The orchid had a stick holding it up with self-care written on it, because she had recognised that as a person who gives everything I can to others, it was time to put myself first. The letter explained various symbolic meanings, including that an orchid to bloom, it first needs to be put out in the cold and shocked back into regenerating growth, symbolising that my time to bloom was coming soon. She told me that I need to build my own stick to hold me up, and that stick started with self-care. She was showing me friendship, but also encouraging that I find my own strength at this time. My sad tears were made happy that day purely because of the time and thought that had been put into doing something to cheer me up. Also, the flower started to bloom, and as it bloomed, it made me feel like it was me blooming too. And it reminded me daily of her kind gesture. So because of these friendships and many other friendships too, this gave me light at a very hard time in my life. And so now I'm going to give you a summary of some of the experiences of supportive friendships, do's and don'ts. So this is me and Alex here on her wedding day. As I said, one of the things I am good at is being a loyal, kind and supportive friend. I have friendships that I've maintained from the ages of 3, 5, 11 and so on. Some of those friends are listening today, so thank you. I think Jana's here. We've been friends since we were 5, so that's pretty cool. And here are my key learnings from both the good times and having to admit and make up for bad times too. So one thing I really respect with my friendship with Alex is that she has strong boundaries and she upholds them. So anyone who doesn't have boundary issues should respect your boundaries. Boundaries can be communicated clearly, but of course kindly, and they can be expressed by leading by example too. This also means that if you need time for yourself or to take a step back from a friend or situation, that's okay and should be respected if communicated in a respectful way. So with your boundaries in check, the best thing you can do as a friend is to make them feel safe. This includes trust and respect. But also, if you can give them a regular time or place to visit when they need, if you can. Safety also includes caring about their health. So for example, if a friend is in a tough spot, a night out drinking might seem like it might blow off some steam, but these big nights can also lead to some pretty big downs. So if someone's already down, try change the catch-ups to walks or other health-focused activities until they're back on their feet. Let them feel heard. That means actually listening and being present when they need it. Bring and support positivity in their lives. So a little example, so my friendships are all two-way. Some of you know Denise's German. She made the big move to New Zealand, and it was a big change for her. She was moving in with her partner, new job, new language, new culture, new people. It was pretty overwhelming, but she did an incredible job. But she did mention to me one day that she was feeling a little bit distant from home. So I decided to bring home to her and throw a surprise German party. These little things that you do for your friends really make a big difference in their lives. So that's another little case. So like Denise did with the orchid, encourage them to find their strengths for themselves too, through self-care, make them realize they deserve it, encourage them to find things that they enjoy and support them in taking this on. Empathy is showing understanding and allow them to have their feelings as real and valid. After you've heard them, offer compassionate words of understanding their feelings, even if it's, I can understand that that must be hard, because sometimes it is really hard to relate to people's feelings, but just try and understand that that's what they're going through and it's real for them. So being open, this allows close and real bonds. It lets people know the real you, and it lets you build real friendships. And here's a few lessons on what to avoid. So overcommitting, it can lead to burnt out relationships and resentment. So remember those boundaries and try to keep it give. Unfortunately, there are actually people out there who will only contact you or let you in while they need things from you. So do watch out for those people in your life if you tend to be an overgiving person. Try not to pass judgments and give opinions. Even if you've heard a full story, you still don't know how that feels for someone inside their head with their differing values and life experiences. Avoid gossip. So I got caught up in a few circles of gossip recently, and it really affected me. So I actually listened to an audiobook, which I'm happy to share with anyone interested. So if you hear something about someone you know about that concerns you, stop the talker and say something like, oh, that sounds really out of character. I'm going to check she's okay and what her version of the story is. Because one, this tells the person that you respect and care about that person enough to talk directly to them. And secondly, it can make someone feel very isolated and confused on what they can on who they can trust at a time they don't need that confusion. When someone is already low, their anxiety on what others are thinking can be high, and further detrimenting that with gossip can have serious effects on someone's health. Thirdly, it doesn't lower you to gossip and being used for triangulation. It can be hard. It's almost a natural trait sometimes, but it's a good habit to break. There's a bird chirping. Triangulation, it's a human trait, but it's a good habit to break. If you catch yourself in it or afterwards, stop right there. Try do what you can to learn from it and make amends from being part of it. If gossip is something that you do struggle with, on your way to work or catch-ups, try to plant 3 to 5 topics in your brain for the upcoming catch-up. Keep it subject-focused, keep it informative. So for example, with Denise and I, Denise can speak Spanish and I'm learning Spanish. So this might be one of the topics I would talk to Denise about when we catch up. And then I know that she's back on site for work now. So I might ask her how it's going being back on site and what that means under the new conditions. So I'm bringing something up about my own life, and I'm also showing that I'm interested in her life. This way you start falling out of that downward and low level form of conversation and relationships. And finally, don't breach trust. Breaking trust, especially if someone is already down, can have considerable effects on that person for a long time. If you are going to gossip or breach trust, do them a favour and let them stick to their safe people. Don't be that person. Respect and nurture your friendships the way you want to be treated. The golden rule still applies. I'm just connecting with nature with this bird that's in my warehouse right now. Cool, so this is our another contributor, Clearhead. They're a website to support Kiwis with their mental health and wellbeing. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about them shortly, but I just quickly wanted to give you a professional resource for how to have those tough conversations with someone who is in a tough spot. It may not apply to you today, but it's a really good resource to keep up your sleeve for skills when you can see someone is really struggling.
Kia ora, New Zealand. I'm Angela, and I'm a medical doctor here to give you some tips on how you can support your mate or loved one with their mental health challenges. Make sure that the space is private and that you have enough time to have this conversation, because the last thing you want to do is when your mate starts opening up to you, you decide that you have to head off. The other thing is these conversations actually can be quite intense. So doing something at the same time takes a little bit of that pressure off. So you could suggest going for a walk, going for a drive, and even shooting hoops with the bro. Often we live these perfect lives on social media, and actually by being vulnerable and making people feel that you're going through challenges as well, it becomes that you are more relatable and they're more likely to then feel that you would understand what they're going through because, hey, you've gone through it yourself. Having made it now clear that you're willing to share and listen, the next step is really to ask permission to have this difficult conversation. And it can be as simple as, in a very caring way, saying, "Hey Sarah, I noticed that you're not your usual self. I'm a bit worried about you. Do you want to talk about it?" Also make sure that you allow them to say no, because sometimes you just might not be the right person for them to speak to, or that they just might not be ready yet. Often when people are talking to you, they're going to trigger thoughts in your head that you want to respond with. And you're going to have all these great ideas on how you're going to solve their problems for them. Don't do that. The most important thing for you to do now is just to listen and be present with them. Now, it's normal when having these challenging conversations that the people that you care about might actually bring up thoughts that they feel that there's no reason to keep living anymore. The most important thing is keep calm. If you're worried that they are going to act on those suicidal thoughts immediately or they have a plan, just call 111 or bring them to the nearest emergency department. Otherwise, it's actually really helpful for them to be able to talk through their suicidal thoughts without feeling judged or you going into panic mode, and actually just allowing them to understand that having suicidal thoughts is a normal part of coping with what they're going through. That's as simple as asking them to see their GP or a therapist. Often that first step is really hard. So what you can do is help them with booking the appointment or suggest attending the first appointment with them if they would like that. Having these tough conversations can be really confronting for some people, and at that point in time it can actually feel like it's made things worse. So the most important thing that you can do is just send a message later on to check in with them. Often when people are going through these dark patches, they can feel like nobody understands, nobody's there for them, that no one cares or want to help them. And having that check-in is a really important step to make people feel that they are not alone and that you are there for them. Ask your mate around what is it that they love doing or that they used to enjoy doing. By doing that, you plant a seed that helps people understand that they do have things that they can look forward to, or that there is something that they can go do after this conversation they have with you.
Cool. So as Angela mentioned in the video we've just watched, it is okay to seek help. There's absolutely no shame in that. You could reach out to someone like Josh, like I did at a time when I needed it. I have also seen this lady here, and I see a coach called Bree as well. So a friend recently said to me, the bigger the grief, the bigger the love. So go and heal those wounds, or just grow, even if it's on the small things. New insight and professional perspective and guidance can be life-changing. This is Ingrid. She's an art therapist. She's written a blog, which is on our website. But just quickly, art therapy isn't about painting canvases to express feelings. It's a non-verbal way to communicate, reflect, transform, grow and heal. And I found it really good. And it also helps you get out of that trap of that conversational expressing of your hurt, which is fine. It's good to talk, as we've discussed. But if it's kind of getting you in a bit of a trap, sometimes you're looking for other ways to express yourself, or exploring things like breathwork are a really good way to help fall out of that. If art therapy isn't for you, if there's one thing I've learned while compiling this presentation, is that there's a lot of good people and organisations out there that are willing and set up to help. So look at what works for you. Look at our contributors as examples. There are a stack of resources online, and even making the time to look them up. Please don't feel alone. Don't feel ashamed. If you need help past your circle of friends, you deserve the best chance at this life you get, and sometimes that involves professional intervention. There are ways of seeking professional health guidance through your GP, so you can get free guidance. I know that on the Clearhead website there's an article how to get funding for a therapist. And also there are a stack of helplines and face-to-face organisations. Clearhead contributed today, so I've included them as an example, and as well as Mental Health Foundation. Cool, so now we move into a bit of fun. So someone told me recently that they consider winter to be a tough time, so I wanted to turn that around into a winter is fun attitude. So keep some rainy day activities up your sleeve. Maybe you sit down with your family and you write a list of things you enjoy to do. They could be at home or going out. You could have them put on your fridge for those days when you're feeling cooped up, or in a rainy day box, or one of those spinny wheel things. Whatever's fun and suits you and your family. I've got here a picture of forts because I think that's a fun thing to do with kids. Lock in special events to look forward to. So this is a little bit hard at the moment, but hopefully soon we can start locking in those special events. So this can be dinner with friends, concerts, theatre, a birthday party. So yeah, have things to look forward to and look ahead at. Uplifting playlists. So while I was doing this presentation, I had music playing the whole time. It also helped me keep moving, like because I work at my desk. I was working from home the whole time. And then I was working on this presentation, which took quite a lot of work. So good song comes on, get the shoulders moving. Yeah, also bring some fun into your day, and maybe you have different playlists for different moods or different people. So as we've discussed, sign up for something fun or interesting. You might want to do guitar lessons or dancing or Spanish. Find something that works for you and what feels good. Stay connected with your people. I know in New Zealand, we tend to kind of go into our shells a little bit in winter. Doesn't mean you have to go out and see lots of people all the time, but do stay connected. Research places you want to visit. So it's hard to plan holidays at the moment, but you can still research places locally or internationally, get your geography skills, learn a little bit about other cultures, languages, how their money systems work, all sorts of things. So research places you want to go one day when the time is right. Connect with inspiring and interesting stories. So like Paddy, when he was going towards his 102 kilometres, he connected into podcasts, and it made it all feel more achievable for him, maybe got some new ideas. So make sure you keep your brain stimulated with what other people are doing and bring some fun into your life. And I've used the quote from the Temptations song, got sunshine on a cloudy day. There's no reason we can't bring sunniness into our rainy days. Cool, so create a winter wellness plan, which is why we're here today. So use past experiences as well as available resources to find what works for you, and do have a little plan in place. Build wellness rituals and coping systems. So when I was going through a hard time, and anything little on top of that would just kind of rock my boat, I now have coping systems in place. So if I start feeling that coming on, I'll go for a walk, I'll listen to an audiobook, and then I'll do a little bit of meditation. And nature is one of mine. So have those up your sleeve. I've got a few options to choose from. It could include calling a friend, but just remember to check your friends in a place to listen to that stuff. Work together with your household or people in your life that you think could do with support over winter. As you know, we talked about people can get low, so if you've got friends that do tend to get a little bit lower, just check in with them that they're prioritising their wellness, and also look after your own. And find a balance. So routine is good, having a plan, having goals and stuff, but also that free and spontaneous fun is really important too. Cool, and that's thanks from us, me and Denise. We can't wait to be face to face with everyone again soon. That's what we love doing. So a special thanks to our contributors. So much work has gone into this. You can check our website. I do have a little bit of work to do, and I will be uploading this video online, but all the blog material is up online now. So you can click on our blog site, but there'll be a /winter wellness site as well. There is a page holder linking to our blog site for that in the meantime. Thank you to our attendees, and a special thanks to those who donated. So everything that Denise and I do at the moment comes out of our pockets. Any cost, website, presenter costs, all sorts of things. So we definitely don't make money out of this, but we do really enjoy it. It's a hobby, but the little bits of donations that we do get really do help us keep bringing these events to you as well, that we do in our spare time outside of work. So speaking of kindness, our next event is Community Kindness. We're going to partner with a whole lot of community members and organisations who give back, and we're going to bring you ways that you can give back. There's all sorts of ways. If you're time poor, you can give back through your gift giving. So we're going to bring you some ideas and really stimulate that community feel out there. So that will be on 7th of June. At this stage, it's all online. If we do decide to move it offline, we would still bring it online for you. So you can sign up now, and that's live. And finally, thank you so much for listening. I'm not usually the presenter. Denise and I have taken turns, but we usually get people like Josh to present the whole thing. We kind of more facilitate and host. So thank you very much for being here today. And you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook. And I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their day. Thank you.